So there is the one side of the intake manifold that I've cleaned up already. I've tried a couple things and I'll tell you what I tried. But I want to talk about the intake manifold gasket that I used. It was the one that came with the rebuild kit that the engine builder used, and I had one that I bought that was from AFR, which is the manufacturer of the heads. And I'm looking at this. I opened it this morning. I figured whenever I used it, I would just use the one that came with the kit. This is not very sticky. That's supposed to seal, and then on the other side, there's nothing at all. I don't know how that's supposed to work, but you know, old school, you got a gasket like this, you put sealant on both sides of it or not and just torqued it down. But the head manufacturers were very vague about how tight to tighten those. And all they did was say, well, don't tighten them too tight because you might strip them. Well, I didn't tighten them too tight. Maybe I didn't tighten them tight enough. I wish they would have given me a torque spec and said, okay, 12 foot-pounds or whatever, inch-pounds, whatever number they came up with, that was a safe amount of tightening to do on the heads without stripping the bolts, because they kind of left you out in the cold with a vague statement like, be careful not to strip them, don't tighten them too tight, just tighten them snug. Well, what's snug? Snug is relative. So one thing I found that from doing the other side is I put RTV on the gasket. There's not even a port here, even though there was a hole in the gasket. And I'm guessing they do that so that you can use either side. You can reverse it, because both of these have openings for a coolant port. That's the front. The back, neither has. So I'm guessing that's just so you can turn the gaskets around. You don't use them on either side. But now I have to clean up some RTV that didn't do anything. So I tried scraping, and I think maybe I had some scraping of on the video. Yesterday on the heads while it was in the car, but it's kind of hard. So yesterday I tried putting some acetone on a paper towel and rubbing it, and that didn't really do much. So did some research last night, and several things were suggested by different people. One was acetone, one was WD-40, one was brake cleaner, one was gasoline. So of those things, in my opinion, WD-40 is the least damaging to your skin and to breathe, and so I chose to do that, and that's how I cleaned up the other side. So it's how I'm going with the rest of the cleanup, because I was pretty happy with the results once I used it. I am I'm going to, the only thing that's bad about it, like acetone, you can't just pour it on there. You got to put it on a rag or something, and then you don't get a whole lot on there. I'm putting on a glove that has a hole in it. So I'm going to show you cleaning up of one port, just so you can get an idea of how long it takes. As I was starting to say, acetone, you can't actually pour it on your, can't control the pour that well. But, and WD-40's not a whole lot better, but I'm sure it's somewhat better. So I'm just spraying all of these right now. So, like I said, I'm going to show you this in real time so you can get an idea of how well it works. Keep in mind, that's only been on there 20-30 seconds. And look at how nicely that's coming off. So, where it's thicker, it might take a second application. But, and then of course you've got to clean up the overspray from everywhere. But this might be better if I had a brand new blade in here. But this blade it's seen its usage. It's probably past its useful life, what the useful life should be. I find that if I keep a little more pressure on the edge, it works a little better, rather than trying to do the whole blade all the way across. But I did use the acetone yesterday. If you remember, when I put that on, I used the cork gaskets that came with the engine rebuild kit. Notice a pattern here, and I was using everything that came with the rebuild kit. And I used, I forget exactly what it's called, but it's a sticky glue, basically, almost like contact cement, so that you can put it on and not have that gasket from the dam move out of place when you put the manifold in. The alternative to that, which is what I'm going to use since I don't have cork gaskets, because I'll ruin them taking them off, is to just use RTV and about a 1/4 inch bead, and that's it. So there's a fairly good cleanup on one port. Would that take maybe 5 minutes, if that? So I may spray a little more WD-40 on that just to get the last bits off. So that's what I'm going to be doing for the next hour or so, because I'm going to do this and I'm going to do the heads, get those ready. I'm kind of optimistic that I'm going to be able to just replace the intake manifolds gaskets instead of the head gasket. But time will tell. I'll put some antifreeze in up to the level of those ports and see if it stays in. If it does, then I'll just reassemble what I've taken apart so far and be back on track. Okay, I've aimed the camera at one of the ports on the driver's side just to demonstrate that with a WD-40 you don't really need to let it soak. It seems to work better if you spray it and scrape it. Seems like if you let it soak, it actually loses some of its effectiveness on freeing up the RTV. I would have to pick one that is hard for you to see, but I guess they'd all be hard. See how easily that came off? And that was without any soaking, not even a few seconds. It just seems to work better that way. I've done several ports that way, and I just figured it was worth pointing that out for anybody that might have to do this job. And you know, I can't speak for what other people experience trying acetone and brake cleaner and gasoline, but I didn't see anybody do it that quickly. So I think I might have kind of discovered something. That's nice and clean, and it just, it's like maybe I missed one little spot there, but I'll go back and get it. But that's the technique I've been using. It's been going really well. So as I was cleaning off the RTV from the intake manifold, and I pointed out that I sealed around the one, there wasn't even a hole through it. And I'm looking at the heads, and there's the front coolant passageway. There's the rear coolant passageway. And I started wondering, did I get a manifold that is mismatched to my heads? So I was like, let me look at the old ones. And I'm not going to go through the trouble of moving it completely, but there is the head, and it has front and rear coolant passageways. And I looked at my intake manifold. I wasn't going to do this, but I think I am going to turn it over so you can see. Well, at least I'll stand it on edge. So I took a look at the intake manifold, which is right there, and zoom in a little bit. So here's the front passageway. Here's the rear, blocked off. So, or maybe they designed the heads that way so they could be put on either direction, but they certainly do not have the ability to pass any coolant from the rear of the head to the intake manifold.